Before we begin, welcome back to the show. Now, I'm on a mission to spread these conversations to as many people as I can. If you could do me the small favor of clicking the follow button on Spotify or clicking subscribe on YouTube, it does make a massive difference in helping me bring on bigger guests who provide even more value. So thank you and enjoy the episode. Cam Bostock, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Egan. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you. So take me through some of your early life and some of the formational experiences you've gone through, and I guess give us a bit more context to the Cam Bostock that presents in the room.
Yeah, far out. Yeah, I love the outdoors these days, and I spend a lot of time outside, and I think that seed was probably planted in my brain and in my psyche from very young. When I was about 6 years old, my parents took me and my siblings on a huge road trip around Australia. So we spent like 12 or 13 months traveling in a big bus. We had our family name was the Rough Nuts, and we just were pretty much just roughed it, and would cook damper and jaffles on the fire for feeds and that kind of stuff. And I have some pretty awesome memories of those early days for sure, and lots of camping, hiking, fishing, that kind of stuff. Spending time on the road.
I heard that you were homeschooled, is that right?
Yeah, so I was homeschooled for most of my high school years. So I went to a school. Well, I actually was homeschooled for like pre-primary on that road trip around Australia and just after. Then I went to a public school for all of my primary school years, and then I homeschooled for pretty much my entirety of my high school. Actually, year 9 to 12. So
yeah,
that was a bit of a different vibe, and I spent a lot of time inside in my teenage years. Actually, it was kind of the opposite to my younger years. I was really into video games and that kind of stuff. I actually was creating like YouTube videos about video games, funnily enough, between the ages of 13 to 18 kind of thing. And I homeschooled, and it wasn't until a bit later that I got back into the outdoors and got addicted to hiking.
So how did you find that experience being at home? You didn't get to socialize much?
Not much, no. Looking back, I kind of wish I had a bit more socialization in my teenage years, because I've always been a natural introvert, and I still am to this day. Like I get my energy by being alone 100%, and being in crowds of people and talking to different people drains me, which is probably why I spend a lot of time outside on trail alone. It's very energizing for me. But I think I also had a lot of social anxiety coming out of high school, which was homeschool, and a lot of fear of, speaking in groups and in public and that kind of stuff. And so I think, I think going to a regular school and having that socialization would have helped me a lot. In saying that, I loved homeschooling. It was very casual. It wasn't very structured, and I was playing video games when I was finishing my work and that kind of stuff. It was kind of great. Did have a little group of other homeschoolers that we kind of met together a couple of times a week, and funnily enough, that's where I met my wife. Our parents were longtime friends, and my wife was homeschooling, and so was I, and so we sort of started a couple of days a week homeschooling together. It kind of sounds weird, but we had we do sports days and we do study days and that kind of stuff, and started dating whilst homeschooling, which is a weird. It doesn't happen very often, I don't think.
Yeah.
Got married a few years later. So it was an interesting period of my life for sure. And looking back, I'm very glad that I discovered the outdoors in a bigger way when I was 19, 20, 21, because I spent a lot of time on the computer and hermited away, I would say, during my sort of mid to late teens.
Yeah, maybe that is why, there's one of these sayings that your voids drive your values, right? If you're deprived of exploration and outside time, now it's exactly what your highest value is. It's hiking, it's exploring.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think once I discovered long distance hiking specifically, I was like, yeah, holy crap, I've been missing out. This is my calling. This is what I love more than anything. And I've just been, doing that a lot the last 5 to 6 years.
So I'm guessing you won all the sports carnivals?
Yeah, there's not many people to compete with. I feel like I was kind of athletic, even though I was pretty nerdy as well. But we did have little sports carnivals, and our parents would set up all these games. We had a bit of land up in northern suburbs of Perth, and Yeah, I'd win a fair amount.
Yeah. So take me through, I guess, more of meeting your wife and also, the impact of that.
Yeah, I don't know how my wife. I don't know why my wife was into me when we were 15. I was just this nerd that didn't ever get off the computer. But we started dating very, very young, if you can call it dating. I don't know, classic 15-year-old relationship. But somehow we stuck together, and yeah, when I was 19, I got married. My wife was 20 at the time, so she's a bit older than me, and we just were like, I'd been together for like 5 years at that point, and we're like, oh, we're gonna get married one day, so let's just get married now, and we did, and it was the best thing ever. And we're actually celebrating our 10-year anniversary in about a month and a half. Yeah, January 9th. So yeah, I guess 2 months from now, almost. And it's been the most incredible journey. She's been, the biggest support, and I wouldn't be able to do what I do now without her. That's for sure.
So what was the purpose for getting married early, and what was happening at that time as well in your life? Like, what were you doing?
Yeah, so I finished high school, and I started working as a social worker. So that was my career out of school. I was really passionate about positively impacting the next generation, I guess you could say. I'm a Christian, so I've gone to church my whole life as well, and I really felt called to young people and youth, and I served in our youth ministry at church. And leaving school, I was like, I just want to work with young people, and so I got into social work and working with youth at risk, and I did that for about 4 years full time out of school, which was really fulfilling and really incredible. And obviously got married during that time as well, so it was nice to have a job that paid pretty well for my age. Actually, social work was a good wage at 19, and I think I was quite good at it. I got a lot of work, was able to work with a lot of clients individually, and got a lot out of it, and had some really great outcomes with the people I work with as well. So it was an interesting phase that eventually transitioned into what I was doing now through COVID and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was wild.
So religion and faith has been something that's been a part of your life for your whole life.
Yeah, born into a Pentecostal Protestant church, and still go to that same church today.
Really?
Although it's gone through a few evolutions, I guess, over the 29 years of my life. But a huge part of my life, yeah. And I guess marrying young is probably more common in Christian circles from what I've seen, for a few reasons. But I guess that's what we felt called to do when we were quite young, when I was still a teenager. And that was a part of it, yeah.
Because I just think back to when I was 19, and there's no way I could get married. I was just immature, still figuring out life. How did you feel about yourself at the time? Like, was there a pressure to have a life sorted? Like, I just want to understand the perspective of marriage and in the context of what's important to you.
I feel like I didn't have any pressure. There wasn't any pressure on me to get married or have anything sorted. It was just something that, like, I knew Karis was the woman I was going to spend the rest of my life with. I knew that, like, deep within. And so it was just a matter of, like, why wait to get married? That was pretty much our mindset. I proposed and we got married 3 months later, and it was just like done and dusted, very, very cheap, easy wedding, and we're into the rest of our lives. That was sort of our mindset. It was just like, this is going to happen eventually, so why wouldn't it happen now? And I was very immature at 19 as well. Like, looking back, I probably thought I had it all together, and I was like, yeah, I'm ready to get married and get into the workforce and just live my life. But looking back, I was just a kid. But no regrets at all. Karis and I, we've only ever dated each other. We've been able to grow together into adulthood, and it's just been the most incredible experience.
Did you have any goals and dreams when you were growing up? Like, I'm just trying to connect how the hiking comes into this, because you said, you're doing social work, but how does it all sort of tie together?
I reckon I had dreams to be like a content creator from my teenage years when I was playing video games. Like, I have multiple YouTube channels out there in the ether that no one's found yet, but they exist.
Do you know what the names are?
I know what they are. I know how to find them. But
I've got some too.
I'll never publicly probably say it. My wife knows. I'm just like prepubescent Cam with a squeaky ass voice, just like playing video games.
What were you playing?
I'll give some people some hints. I play a lot of like Counter-Strike Source and League of Legends, Terraria, like a lot of PC gaming.
Yeah, okay.
Loved it all. I love the competitive aspect of gaming as well. So I think I always wanted to be like a YouTuber, you know. I
Mm.
was trying to do that a little bit when I was like 15 to 18. And so that was probably a dream of mine. And when I got introduced to hiking from a good mate of mine, Luke, who took me out into the Bibbulmun track when I was a teenager still, late teens. That was my first multi-day hiking experience. We're out for 3 days and I just loved it. And that was sort of the introduction to hiking. And I don't know, when I got married and got a full-time job out of school, I had this sort of shift in my brain where I'm like, I can't play video games all day anymore. Like I'm kind of for the next chapter of my life. And so I like straight up just sold my PC and was like, okay, that was the old part of my life. Now I'm gonna work and be a husband and try and pursue more things that are, I guess, that fit this next stage of my life. And started getting outdoors a lot more from there, I guess, and loved it. And yeah, it wasn't until COVID where my wife and I had actually moved to Japan. We were living in Tokyo. My wife was really passionate about learning Japanese language, and so we moved there so she could study. And while we were there, COVID happened, and we had to move home. And it was a chaotic time, as it was for most people. And I lost my job. She lost hers. She was, had to stop her studies, and we had an apartment over there with all the furniture, and we just had to give up everything. And it was like, crap, what do I do now? And that's when I was like, maybe I'll try and be a content creator, hiker. I was like, why not give it a go?
Were you hiking at this point? Like, have you done much hiking experience?
A little bit, yeah. So in Japan, I was doing quite a bit of hiking because it was kind of like this thing that I was getting into just before leaving to Japan, which was, late 2018, early 2019. I was doing a bit around here in Western Australia and dipping my toes a bit. And started creating a few pieces of content as well around that time. And when we came back to Perth and sort of had this reset, I was like, oh, I'll just give this a go. I saw other people doing it, and I gave it a crack, and I haven't looked back since. So I've been full time hiking and creating videos since then, which was late 2020.
I want to get into that journey from, having the vision of being a hiking content creator and then making it a full-blown reality, where it's your full-time job. So I'm sure it wasn't as smooth as it looks, right? What were some of the let's get into that journey. I think that's super enlightening to see, I guess, the full experience. So what's a bit of a timeline of the journey when you decided, you wanted to commit to this being the thing you're doing, but also now it's during COVID, there's a lot of outside pressure. So what was happening at that time?
Yeah, so like I said, I was dabbling in making sort of outdoorsy videos around 2019, 2020 whilst we were in Japan. COVID hits, we come back to Australia like March, April 2020, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do for work. I was like, crap, like what are we supposed to do now? We had some money in savings, and so we could sort of hold out and figure out what to do. But I was just like, I started doing like camp outs in the backyard of my parents' property during COVID because we couldn't bloody leave. So I was like, oh, I'll make a video about this and that. And I just really loved it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this a crack and try and like make this into something. And so throughout 2020, I was sort of dabbling in that when we were let out of our houses. And in 2021, it's when I decided to walk the Bibbulmun track end to end, which is our big through hiking trail here in Western Australia. And that's when it sort of I actually was able to build a bit of a following on that trail. I like posted daily vlogs, and I gained like 100,000 followers on TikTok of people wanting to follow that journey. That was the first time I was like, okay, like people are interested in watching me hike. This is crazy. Wasn't making any money, but I knew that people did doing this. I think that's what opened my eyes to the fact that I could do this as a job. And it was probably around that time where I walked the bib track and gained the first few followers that I was like, I'm just going to commit to this fully and basically not have a plan B. At that point, I had gotten offered my old job back in social work that I had done before we moved to Japan. And so I had options and, we were able to work again, that kind of stuff. But I was like, screw this, I'm going for it. Because like I'd experienced for like a year at that point, the freedom of being able to just like do my own thing and choose what adventures I wanted to have. I wasn't making money off of it. We were just burning through savings, but I was like, this is the best feeling in the world. And so I had this vision of one day being able to actually make money doing it and make it sustainable. And I guess I was just very stubborn and just was like, I'm going to make it happen. Like in my head, there wasn't another option. I told myself, in 2021 that I would never work for anyone else again. And I think that mindset has sort of helped me grind and get to this point where the last couple of years I've actually been able to make really good money and make it sustainable and that kind of thing. But it was a grind for the first couple of years of like making nothing, burning through savings, telling my wife, this is going to work at some point, and her support being imperative in that process sitting here today and being able to like do this for a living and travel the world and do whatever I want. It's the best thing ever. But it's been more work than any other job that I've had by far. You know, no one sees that when you post a video online, but I'm sitting in my office here in Perth on the laptop, most hours of most days when I'm not traveling. So it's a grind.
What's the pull then to do this work? Obviously, like you said, there's more work than you realize, from the outside. But what makes it so worthwhile that it pulled you to go through that journey of not making money to making money? Like, because I think that's the thing people really struggle with, right? It's that journey of uncertainty from, I know I love this other thing, but there's the security and certainty of the 9-to-5 job.
Mm-hmm.
You could have easily gone back down that path.
Yeah.
But what was the thing pulling you?
There were so many times where I was like, I can just go get a job whenever I want. And it would be so nice because I'd have like income that I knew was coming in every week, because that's the thing about content creation is it can be very sporadic when you get a brand deal or you get some sort of money from somewhere. And so I was often missing that consistency. And a big goal of mine over the last few years has been to build a consistent income that wasn't sporadic, which has been a process that has been successful. But the draw for me was really just the freedom of it. At this point, 2022, 2023, all I wanted to do was just hike. Like, it's all I wanted to do. And so I was like, if I have a regular job, I just can't take 6 months off to hike across the country. It's just not really feasible. And so the draw for me was the freedom, the flexibility of doing something that I love and being able to explore things and experience things that I just wouldn't otherwise.
Why do you think people love watching your hiking videos so much? And why do you love hiking so much too?
Being outside is where humans are supposed to be. And so I don't think it's like a weird thing to love being in the outdoors. And I think just so many people haven't experienced it enough to fall in love with it. We spend a lot of time in rooms, in offices behind screens, and you just don't know what you're missing. But humans are meant to be outside in nature, not in cities. And so the more I've done that, the more I've realized that hiking is just like the purest and the best way to experience nature, because you're quite often pushing your own physical and mental limits, which is also a very, very powerful thing for mental and physical well-being. And you get to do that in nature, which is just a super powerful setting to be in as a human. And so that's why hiking is just sort of this perfect thing where a lot of the best things that help you grow as a human are available to you. And why a big reason I create content these days is to try and encourage people to get outside and hike as well. I'm very lucky to have a lot of people tell me that they get outside because of my content, which is really cool. What was the other question you asked?
I asked about like why people love watching hiking content so much.
That's an interesting one. I think why people like watching my hiking content is because I do what not many other people do, which is like on long trails, I'll vlog daily live, like as it's happening. And that just, no one does that because it's really hard to do. I think that's the draw for a lot of my content and why a lot of my daily vlog series on big trails have gone like ultra viral, because it's just cool to follow an epic journey. We follow epic journeys all the time in movies and TV shows, but to follow like someone walking across a country on an iconic trail and being able to see what they did every day as they do it is really cool. And like no one does that, because I'd walk 16 hours in a day, then I'd get in my tent at night and I'd edit for 2 hours just to have a daily vlog up for people to watch. And most people just aren't willing to sacrifice other things to make that possible. I think that's the draw for a lot of people that watch me. They enjoy following those journeys. And that's been really evident on some of the longer trails I've done, where like episode 1, day 1 of my journey would just go like bonkers viral, and day one of my Pacific Crest Trail trip in 2024 across America gained me 300,000 followers, one episode. It's just like everyone sees and it's like, holy crap, I get to follow this from the start. And so, but also, like I said before, we're just meant to be outside, and people that don't spend a lot of time outside, I feel like are naturally drawn to just that idea. And hopefully a lot of people that watch my videos will take that step themselves.
Yeah. Take me into the inspiration behind some of the biggest trails that you've done, like the Pacific Crests, and how that all came about.
Yeah, so after walking the Bibbulmun track in 2021, which is 1,000 kilometers long, I kind of was introduced to the world of through hiking, which is this ultra long distance version of hiking, where it's not just, a couple hours or a couple days or even a couple weeks. It's often months and months and months. And so I started hearing about some of these other big trails around the world. The Bibbulmun track is one of the longest in Australia, but our next door neighbour, New Zealand, has this long trail called Te Aroa, which is 3,000 kilometres long, and that instantly caught my attention when I first heard about it. I'm like, wow, 3 times as long as the Bib track, traverses the entire length of New Zealand, both islands, and looks really hard and really beautiful. And that was sort of like instantly going to be my next goal. And so after walking the Bib track, I did a bunch of hiking in Australia in 2022, and in 2023 I was like, I'm going to walk across New Zealand, and that was the next big one that I did. But after walking that trail successfully, which was an incredible experience, another trail that always pops up in through hiking conversations is the Pacific Crest. It's the most iconic through hiking trail on earth, for good reason. It's incredible trail. Traverses the west coast of the US from Mexico to Canada through California, Oregon, Washington, and it's 4,500 kilometers long. So even longer than Te Aroa, and that's sort of the theme of my hiking journey. I'm just like, where can I walk a trail that's going to be longer than the last one I walked? That was always part of my motivation. Unfortunately, there aren't many trails longer than the Pacific Crest that I can now progress to. But the PCT was for a very long time like this pinnacle of hiking that I was like, one day I'm going to hike that trail. And 2024 was the year that it happened. And that was, the best experience of my life. It was unbelievably beautiful, so much history and culture that's built around this trail. And I met so many cool people, which was probably the best part. A lot of people hike that trail every year. And I found a little group that you call a trail family when you're on trail, that you hike with for extended periods of time. And I walked with 2 people specifically for pretty much the entire 5 months I was on trail, which is now 2 of my best mates, Dan and Emma. Funnily enough, Dan and Emma started dating on that trail. And
did they meet on the trail?
They met very early on. It's funny, I have a video of them meeting, which is kind of funny looking back now that they've been together for almost 2 years. But us 3 walked the trail together, and it was just, it was the best thing I've ever done. Yeah.
So you're comfortable being away from, I guess, Perth, and what about the relationship as well, being away from your wife and also the comfort of Perth? Like, how do you manage that?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because Perth is the best place on earth, as you know. It's incredible here, incredible community, incredible people, incredible nature and adventure. So I always miss home so much when I'm away. And obviously my wife, I'm away for 1 day. So being away for 5 months on the PCT specifically was really hard to be away from her. We didn't see each other for 5 months, for 140 days, which is brutal. Even when I walked across New Zealand, my wife came over and she hired a van and drove alongside me for about half of it. So we had that in-person connection still. But when I was in the US, it was just all online phone calls and stuff. So missing her or being away from her physically was super, super tough. And the hardest part of that trail was not the walking, 50, 60 kilometers a day or the mountains or the altitude. It was being away from her for sure. But it was just one of those things that it's like a once in a lifetime opportunity, the thing I wanted to do the most in the world, and very blessed to have a wife who was very supportive of me doing that. I would say the last month on that trail was just so hard because I was just longing to finish and get home, whilst at the same time really just knowing that I'd missed the experience of being out there. But getting home and seeing Karis was like it was like the coolest thing ever after such a long period away.
Did you have moments on that trail, like quite low moments where you're sitting with yourself and were struggling quite a lot?
Yeah, the only low moments I had like that were moments of missing Karis and missing Perth and my family and stuff. I never had moments of like, I want to quit because it's too hard. You know, I was every day out there was the best day of my life. It was so cool. But I had many moments where I was like, damn, I just wish Karis could teleport here and share my tent with me tonight, or if I could teleport home for one night and see her and that kind of stuff. There was a lot of moments like that, especially towards the end. Yeah.
What are some of the other challenges? Like, because how many Ks are you knocking out a day? You're making the 50 or 60 Ks a day sound pretty easy, but how has your body been able to handle the stress of these long trails that you do? Because from an outsider's perspective, like it's crazy numbers.
It's crazy numbers, yeah. It's weird though. Like when you're living on a trail and all you do is hike, it only takes a couple of weeks for your mind and body to realize that this is now our life, and it starts to divert all resources towards walking all day every day. It's really a magical thing. I mean, anyone who's done anything athletic knows how incredible the human body is at adapting to new stresses. But when you're on a long distance trail and you're a month in, and your body just like all of a sudden is like is all of a sudden just built for this, and everything starts feeling easier. It's such a cool feeling. And so typically when I start a long trail, I'm not in that kind of shape where I can walk for 60 kilometers a day. But a month in, as long as you're taking care of yourself and getting proper nutrition and sleep and stuff like that, the body just adapts. And any thru hiker will know that feeling of like, holy crap, I'm fit. Like I just walked 12 hours straight and I'm fine. It's like, it's crazy. But, you know, I do spend a lot of time at home as well, training for these big hikes to prepare myself as well as possible. And as a full-time hiking content creator, I'm very, very privileged to hike a lot. You know, a big chunk of the year I'm on trail, so I keep a pretty good base hiking fitness. And hiking fitness is very specific as well. Like a really great ultra marathon runner might not be a great hiker because you have to carry a lot of weight in your back. You know, you're dealing with a lot of different weather conditions, altitudes, you know, trail technicalities. It's like a very different world. You know, your average bodybuilder is not going to hike very well. I can guarantee you that. So it's very specific, and you basically just got to hike a lot, which at this point I've done. Yeah.
So that's how you've developed. You haven't like gone to the gym to do backpack lifts or anything. You just from sheer volume.
I don't go to the gym at all these days. But at home I have like, you know, weight vests and stuff that my morning walk with my wife I'll wear, and I do quite a bit of like prehab work to try and strengthen tendons and joints. But there's not a whole lot of like specific training I do really. I just hike a lot and try and take care of my body and recover well. And that over many, many years of doing a lot of kilometers has sort of just, almost bulletproofed me. Like I just got off this FKT on the bib track and I was doing hundreds of kilometers a day at the end, or like over 100 kilometers a day, and I didn't get injured, no pain, anything. It's just like my body is like built for hiking. It's pretty crazy. But like, then if I went to the gym and tried to lift any weight in a squat, I would look like a little baby. So it's like, you know, I'm very specifically built at the moment.
What speed do you go at on the trails?
It depends on the terrain and the pack weight, but typically like 5 kilometers an hour would probably be a pretty good average pace for me. My pack's really light and it's a pretty easy trail, closer to 6 kilometers an hour. So to do 60K in a day would be between 10 and 14 hours, you know, plus a few breaks.
Do you ever run on like like a light jog, or is it always?
Typically no running. It's just a really great way to injure yourself for no reason on like a casual hike. On the FKT I ran a little bit on the last day because I was like, it's the end. May as well shave up a couple more minutes. But even then I felt like a bit weird running and didn't do it too much. So typically, just walk and get to enjoy your surroundings and make sure each foot is placed correctly and that kind of stuff.
Do you enjoy running or?
I love it. Yeah, I do quite a bit of running at home as well. I want to get into ultra running more. It's like a typical thru hiker pivot. It's like he finishes a big trail, get all this fitness, let's try run. So yeah, my plan in the next few months is to get back into running a bit more. Just because it's fun. trail running specifically. I don't really run on the roads or anything, but being able to move faster through beautiful nature is really cool. I love it. Yeah. Are you much of a runner?
Somewhat, not. I mean, depends. If I'm comparing myself to you and Macca, then no way.
Well,
but
don't put me and Macca in the same sentence when we're talking about running, because he's
I just mean endurance. Like
right,
from your numbers, like Jesus Christ,
yeah.
I feel like it's a walk around the block in comparison.
It's all relative, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I run about 20 to 30 at the moment,
Yeah,
K's a week. But
have you hiked much?
No, I've hardly hiked, so I'm gonna have to get taken out there.
Let this conversation inspire you, mate.
I want to experience it because I find it hard to relate to. I did one. I think I've done a couple, but nothing like major. I've always been somewhat resistant to like the I'm like scared of snakes. That was my biggest thing. So I have to.
Bad place to live.
Once I overcome that fear.
Yeah, snakes are terrifying in WA because they're very deadly. But the other thing is, like, no one ever gets bit by snakes.
I know, it's weird.
So there's
a lot of them, but
it's really nothing to worry about if you're using common sense, because snakes don't just like come out of the bush and attack you ever. It doesn't happen, which a lot of people are scared of. It's like if you step on a snake, maybe it'll swing around and bite you. That's like the only chance of something bad happening. And so basically the goal is just don't step on a snake, and that's pretty easy to do if you're watching where you walk. But the idea of there being like deadly snakes everywhere and seeing them, like you will see them on WA trails, like it makes me nervous sometimes for sure. But it shouldn't stop you from getting out.
What sort of animals have you seen? Like, I'm sure you've seen heaps. You've been to New Zealand. You know, what sort of?
Well, look, the funny thing about New Zealand is there's like barely any native animals that are bigger than like a football. It's very very safe place to hike. There's no venomous snakes, spiders, no big predators. It's incredible. So it's a good place for you to go.
Yeah, okay, maybe
because it's like one of those places that you'll see a trail that's like completely overgrown. You can't see the floor, and you just won't even think about a snake because there's nothing to worry about. And so when I hiked across New Zealand, it was just freeing to just never have to think about getting attacked or bitten from an animal. In saying that, there's like incredibly beautiful birds in New Zealand, and there's a lot of introduced species out in the wild, like deer and stuff that are really cool, and goats and stuff. But hiking in the US, I saw some proper dangerous animals like black bears and stuff, pretty close up on the Pacific Crest Trail, which was at the start. The first few bears I saw were terrifying. Like, as an Australian, we don't have big predators here either. It was like, holy crap, that's a bear. That
How big was it?
Rip me apart. Like, huge, like the size of a car. Massive.
And what's the saying about bears? What do you know the saying about, like, which ones you should run away from, which ones?
Yeah, so black bears are the safe bear.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know what the saying is.
They're saying about brown get down, like, or something.
Black bear get. Is it black? Get
I don't know. I saw it.
I
saw it in Cocaine Bear. Have you seen Cocaine Bear?
I haven't.
Oh,
but there is a saying. You're basically screwed if it's a polar bear. Grizzlies will like potentially attack you, but black bears for the most part won't. So I've only ever seen black bears in the wild, but still, being that close to a black bear is like, holy crap, that's a thing that could rip you apart.
How close were you to it?
The closest one I got to was probably like 10 meters away. So like pretty much face to face. And it was just like, I was with my mate Dan. We came around the corner of this bit of a trail, and it was just standing there. That was probably the biggest one I saw. Just standing there looking at us. We looked at it, and then it was like, and it pissed off into the bush, and we like crapped ourselves. And
should have invited it on the trail with you.
Yeah, well, it was on trail. It was blocking our way until it ran away. But that's the thing. They're skittish, they don't want to really have anything to do with you. But on the PCT, there was like mountain lions as well, which are also very dangerous. I didn't see any, but they're around. Saw coyotes and other stuff like that as well. Luckily, I've never really had any encounters that I was like fearful for my life in regards to wildlife. Like rattlesnakes are really scary in the US as well. They think we have like terrifying wildlife. It's so funny because it's so much scarier over there.
Really?
There's big animals and rattlesnakes and small animals that can kill you. It's like, we've just got a few snakes, that's it, and a couple of spiders that you'll never see. It's like you see a grizzly in the wild or in a mountain lion, it's like those things will murder you.
Yeah.
It's wild.
What has been some of the weather conditions you've experienced on some of these trails, like the heat and rain or stuff? How do you deal with that?
I've experienced it all, yeah, for sure. And it's like, really just got to make sure you've got your gear dialed in. Otherwise, extreme weather just it kills people all the time when you're outside. Exposure. I've walked through, like really intense blizzards in New Zealand, in the middle of nowhere, which was really scary. And I've walked through heat waves in the Southern California desert where there's like no water around. They're always like more sketchy situations than wildlife, I would say. But it's just about proper preparation. You can get weather forecasts for anywhere these days in the modern age. So, and even if you don't have reception, you can get like satellite weather forecasts. And so like you always should know what the next few days of hiking are like. And I'm always on top of that. And so I know what to do. But yeah, like there's a couple of days in the US where it was like almost 40 degrees Celsius, very minimal water on trail, and you're in the middle of nowhere. And it's like you've got to really, really plan out your days right. And often that means just like sitting under a tree for 4 hours in the middle of the day to avoid the heat, and then camping up next to like a little trickle of a stream to fill your water bottle up over a 45-minute period or whatever. But it's like the same with wildlife. Common sense takes you a long way to surviving outside. And unfortunately, a lot of people get themselves into situations where they die or get injured or whatever outside. And it's usually just a lack of common sense and planning that leads to those situations, unfortunately.
So how do most people die on trails?
Like on the PCT last year when I was on trail, I think there was 2 deaths. One of them was like a guy fell off a ridge line and died due to exposure from the elements because he like hurt himself or something. I don't know the exact circumstances. I know a couple years back there was 2 young ladies that died on river crossings on the PCT. That's a fairly common one. Someone died on a river crossing the year I did Te Aroa in New Zealand as well. River crossings can be really sketchy, usually because people underestimate them. Like even a river that's between like the width of this table that we're sitting at can be, you might just think about almost jump across it or just walk through it, no worries, and it might just be thigh deep, but it can like rip you down if it's fast flowing.
Yeah.
And it's cold water and you go into shock and then get ripped into like a wider portion of the river, you might just die. And so that happens sometimes. But often it's like people, falling off somewhere, breaking a leg or getting ripped down a river that people perish. I always tell people like the number one thing you need to do if you're multi-day hiking is bring a satellite communication device or SOS device, because that will save your life in those situations. If you don't have one, you are probably going to die. They're pretty pricey sometimes, which is why people are like, she'll be right. I don't need to buy one of those, but you don't need it until you need it. And when you need it, it's often life or death. So
the price doesn't really matter
it's completely irrelevant.
If you're dead and you can't call the money, what's the money going to do?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And SOS devices save people's lives every year in the backcountry. So yeah, it's my top tip.
Yeah. So what do you think this driving force of yours is? Do you have this yearning to keep challenging yourself, keep pushing yourself and test the limits? Like I want to get into the inside of like where this drive comes from. I know like, you've got your social media and your business centered around hiking now, but I want to know where your mind is around pushing your own limits.
Yeah. I mean, the outdoors is like the perfect arena for pushing oneself. And the more I do push myself outside, the more addicting that is. Like physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, like you can push yourself in so many ways on a trail. And I always intentionally do that when I'm through hiking, even if it's just casually, not for a record or anything. I'm always like, how can I push myself and do some sort of challenge and that kind of thing. I think that's what a lot of the times brings me on outdoors these days. I obviously still find a lot of peace outside, and it's just like an incredible place to spend time and reflect and think and that kind of stuff. But I just love the challenge of it. Like I'm going to Tasmania next week, and there's this trail I'm doing, which I consider to be the toughest trail in Australia. And usually people will do it over 10 or 12 days. I'm like, I'm going to do it over 5 days because I know it's going to be super, super hard. And I'll still enjoy the track. It's going to be so much fun, but I'll really push myself and test myself. And I love doing that. And it's weird because that trail 5 years ago would have been so daunting to me. To do it in 5 days would have been impossible. But because I've pushed myself and done all these things over the years, I have a confidence that I'll be fine and I'll get it done. And that's the beauty of pushing yourself, is it's just the best way to grow. Intentionally choosing to do really hard things makes everything in life easier and makes the next adventure easier, and it expands your limits to choose to do different things that you might not have been able to do previously as well.
Something I'm exploring is whether our limits are because we're not aware of our capabilities, or there's a certain amount of skill that we develop as well as we progress too, because it's like, could you have always done this thing in 5 days, or have you developed a lot of other skills as well as your strength in your mindset to be able to do this 5-day thing?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think there's a bit of both there for sure. I think we're always capable of more than we think. And if you never push your limits, you kind of don't understand that there's a limit to push, almost. That was my experience doing this fastest known time on the Bibbulmun track. Like, I didn't know where my limit was, but I was aiming to just find out where that was. And I ended up being more capable than I thought. So that's an example of like, yeah, I was able to do more than I thought I was. But then there is a whole aspect of obviously improving yourself, whether it's like your own confidence or just your own fitness or ability, which allows you to do bigger and better things as well, which I think also plays a huge part, especially on trails like this. Like 5 years ago, there's no way I could do the Arthur's Traverse, which is that hike in Tasmania, in 5 days. I would have probably gone into it thinking, oh, geez, this is going to be terrifying. Maybe I can do it in 12. And in reality, like, maybe I could have done it in 10. But then 5 years of experience and confidence building and testing myself later, I'm like, hell yeah, I can do it in 5. In reality, maybe I can do it in 3. But like there's this, yeah. It's an interesting dichotomy though.
Yeah, I find it's like, obviously there's the physical element too, but I find with skill building, there's so many little things. It's probably the same for trails as well. There's so many little things that you get better at that you aren't focused on. Like, obviously there's the physical endurance, but there's like so many little behaviors within trails or any pursuit that you're in that you just get so much more efficient at, confident in, that it just gives you overall confidence in your ability to handle whatever challenges come up.
It's so true. It's so true. And that's so true in hiking. Experience hiking, it adds all these tiny little skills that you wouldn't even think about that you become good at. And that only comes from experience. That's why I really loved the idea. You talked to Mackenzie Berger on the podcast a few weeks ago. He did the supported fastest known time on the Bibbulmun track. I was more interested in doing the unsupported because it's like, that's where those little skills that I've gotten from hiking actually play a part. A non-hiker would struggle to do an unsupported FKT of that length because there's so many little hiking skills that come into play with, choosing your gear, your sleep setup, and, hiking pace and efficiency, and all these little things that are just like, almost something you wouldn't think about. And so, yeah, it's cool. And that's why doing something for a long period of time and building and committing to like learning some skill consistently for a long time can just pay dividends, because it's like, there's the big obvious things like getting real fit and strong or whatever, and there's all these little things you pick up along the way from conversing with other people or just doing it yourself that add up to being really good at something.
So I want to just segue back into this entrepreneurship journey as well, because I think it's super fascinating. Also interesting. It's I'm sort of like in a similar position, I guess, from where you were, I guess, during that COVID period, right? Where you've got choices. You can go down a familiar path, or you can set your sights and vision on something. And I think a lot of people yearn for more in their life. They have this feeling they either have a hobby or they love something that they put time into, but it's not their main source of income, and they want to do that. So I think it's super valuable to explore how you can do that, as well as like not only from the mindset perspective of burning the boats, but also from a practical standpoint of how you thought about monetizing it as well.
Yeah.
So
I'm
guess
an open book.
All right. So how did you think about monetizing this thing, right? Like, obviously you started to gain followers and stuff like that, which is eyes and attention, but how did it go from there? Like, obviously you started a business recently, but there's been sponsorships along the way.
Yeah.
So how's your mind evolved from, turning the following and the love and the passion into something sustainable?
Yeah, I was very cognizant that I would have to make money doing this, and I wasn't really sure what that looked like at the start. I just knew that people did it as a job, so I was like, okay, how do I do it? I talked to a lot of other creators at the time and tried to get into their minds and stuff, and yeah, I guess working with brands is like sort of the biggest chunk of my income, and it has been from the start. And so that was something that I pursued pretty early. It was like trying to build relationships with brands in my space, which is the outdoor world. At the start, that was just very much one-off little brand deals with companies that I didn't really care so much about, but I was like, oh, cool, they'll pay me a couple $100 to put up a post. That's awesome. And and that was very sporadic, which I was talking a bit about earlier, how sporadic my income was for a very long time. And so I guess as I progressed doing this and really committed to it, my goals were to build a consistent income rather than a sporadic one, so that I could sort of predict what my next year would look like and if I was going to be able to survive and be comfortable. And so my goal was like, how do I make this consistent? For me, that was like leaning into the brand deals, but trying to pursue long-term brand deals with companies that I really resonated with. And that's been a journey over the last 3 years to really prioritize that over just like the one-offs with brands that have some sort of launch or whatever it may be. That's been really successful. So like now pretty much my only brand deals are long-term ones, and I have contracts with multiple brands for 12 months plus, which is really great. So I like can forecast, okay, I'm going to earn this much money every month for the next year, and that's incredible. But there's like a bunch of other ways that I've tried to build alternate sources of income that are consistent as well, through like starting a Patreon membership, just like a subscription platform for creators, building that over the last few years, which has been really, really successful. And then, other sources of income through YouTube ads and affiliate marketing. And recently, like Facebook started paying creators. So I've been like really prioritizing that and getting money from that source as well. And so, yeah, I guess the goal for me has been diversifying income streams and trying to build consistency in my income. Yeah, which has been a journey, but successful one.
Do you think when someone's on the young entrepreneurship journey and they're getting these offers, or maybe they're not getting offers, but they're reaching out, do you think it's important just to get runs on the board, or do you think it's really important to align yourself and get really clear on like what you can provide as well? Because I feel like it'd be like you just want to get the breadcrumbs, right? You just want something to prove and give yourself evidence that it's coming real. Like I feel that inside. But then also looking at what you can provide and having trust in the long-term vision as well.
It's an interesting question, because I definitely took the approach of like, I just want to get runs on the board when I started. Just to prove to myself that it was possible, and it's like a nice little motivation to get your first brand deal, your first $1,000 brand deal, whatever it is. But my thinking has definitely evolved as I've come into a more privileged position of being able to pick and choose who I work with, which wasn't always the case, to now like I really prioritize not only working with brands that I love and already are a part of my life, but also like working with brands where the people in them that I communicate with are awesome and have good conversations with and relationships with. And I would place priority on that over a money amount these days. But it's weird because like at different stages of the journey, you don't have that freedom to necessarily do that, to say no to things.
I know, that's what I mean.
It's like next month.
That's what I've constantly been thinking about, because I think a lot of people are going on this journey of entrepreneurship where they're a content creator and they're trying to monetize it. And it's like you hear these perspectives, and the advice you get from someone who's maybe at stage 10 is so different to the advice you need to hear at stage 3. Like, has your mindset towards business and yourself evolved too? Like, how did you approach like grinding content and your vision of making money and making this thing happen? Like, how has that evolved over time?
Yeah, it's definitely evolved. And you're so right that every stage of this journey is very different. Yeah, I would have said yes to almost anything when I first started.
But do you think that that's necessary just to get the confidence, get the runs on
I think it's beneficial, yeah. I think it is. And I think I think committing to doing something like this wholeheartedly is like basically key to making it successful. It's very hard to half-ass something as competitive and as challenging as like being a full-time content creator. And so if saying yes to something that doesn't like perfectly align to get you to go all in, maybe that's a good thing. I think that's what I did. That's what I did for sure. And do I look back and regret on working with some of the brands like that didn't make a whole lot of sense for me? I don't know, not really, because it kind of got me to this stage. But also like your audience is the most important thing, and keeping trust and authenticity with your audience is super key. And so just like shilling off like a random brand that has nothing to do with what you do, it doesn't make any sense and can damage your brand as well. So I don't know. It's a weird one as far as like giving advice on what to do, because it's like,
No, it's just an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm in a position, and I know a lot of people are in that position where that almost you'd take anything,
yeah,
but then you're also like, well, how is this going to play out in the long run as well? It's a balancing act, but it has benefits to get the confidence up too.
100%. And that's what I did. Yeah. And it definitely was like a domino effect where I was like, oh, cool, I can do this. And then slowly I was gaining more confidence and more confidence in what I could provide and charge higher and choose who I work with more specifically over time. I think a lot of my early brand deals were on TikTok, and for some reason in my head, TikTok is just like such a sporadic audience that it was like, well, whatever, I'll just post whatever on TikTok. Whereas like Instagram sponsors for me have always been a bit more like, this is my community on Instagram where I have relationships with people, and it's a bit more selective for me.
How do you find being authentic and showing up and expressing all these things when you said you're naturally introverted, right?
Yeah, very much so.
So how have you found that journey of learning to build trust with the audience, share things, and present sides of yourself that you'd naturally hide away?
Yeah, it's a weird thing for me because talking to the camera is like nothing like talking to a person for me. It comes like the first few times I talked to the camera, it was hard and it was like awkward, but it doesn't drain my social battery or anything, you know. And so it's just basically like a skill that I've learnt. And I've had no issues. Like, it's very natural for me to just talk to the camera all day now. Yeah, I'd much rather talk into a camera lens than talk in a group of people or, you know, in front of an audience or something, like, you know, 100 times out of 100. Which is, I've had so many people ask me to come speak at like events and stuff. I'm just like, I think I'd hate it, so I'm probably not going to do a good job at it, so I'm not going to come. Sorry. But I'll happily talk all day on a podcast or something. So,
or, you know, hike 1,000 kilometers
and post every day. Yeah, like it's a weird thing for me.
I always found that that's an interesting thing that we go through as humans, is we're happy and confident to push our limits in a domain that we're comfortable in. Like you're comfortable in the outdoors now. You're happy to keep pushing your limits there.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's things that I'm confident in and I like to push my limits in. But it's like, would it be beneficial as well to tap into things?
It definitely would.
Where can Cam go and speak at? Give us some.
I've had this conversation with my wife many times where I get like a speaking offer. She's like, aren't you always trying to do hard things? Like, this is obviously a hard thing for you. Like, shouldn't you do it? I'm like, God damn it, she's right.
She's right, but I don't want to do it.
But I always say no. I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's no doubt that the pursuit of bettering yourself means like pushing into uncomfortable areas outside of your particular like zone of interest. And so that's probably something I should do more.
Yeah, it's fascinating because it is fascinating because like I see like the way you push yourself in the trails, like that would really scare me, and that would probably open up a huge can of worms for me to grow. And then like, you know, I guess maybe doing something like public speaking would be a hugely beneficial self-development area. But it's like, it is the same where I'm navigating, which is like, what is actually worth doing? Like, you might do the public speaking thing and be like, oh my God, now I've got so many more ideas and opportunities to evolve the business and I feel more free as well. But I feel like we're in a world now that just rewards being really, really good at one thing. Like, if you're like the GOAT at hiking, like you get rewarded.
It's very true. Yeah, if you're like that guy for that thing, then everyone looks to you for that thing, for sure. And yeah, for me, it's also just a case of like, for the last 5 years, I was very intentional about like, I need to start saying yes to every opportunity to make the most of what I'm doing and really just like take it all in and grind. But I've gotten to the point now where it's like, I need to start saying no to more things and really like keeping my schedule clear because there's just like so much going on. It's probably a cop out though to just saying no to things that are uncomfortable.
So how do you find fulfillment from continuing to push these limits? Because like something I'm thinking about is how we set these goals in mind, right? Like you can take the fastest known time recent example, right? You set out this big goal, you go after it, you achieve it. What's the experience like of realizing this achievement, this goal you've set out? How does that feel? And then what's the conversation you have with yourself about going forward? Like after achieving something so big, like what's the fulfillment like from that? And then how do you process that and then turn that into something for going forward?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think I've always been pretty good at just like moving on to the next thing pretty quickly and not like wallowing in my self-pity or my self-glory for very long. And so like I'm only a week removed from that FKT and I'm incredibly proud of it. It was unreal, but it's not even really something I'm thinking about that much now that all the content's out, you know? But it was one of those things that I worked for a long period of time leading up to. And so finishing it was like, hell yeah, this is sick. But instantly this week I'm just like thinking about what's like a bigger, harder thing I could do. And so I've already got all these ideas rolling around my head on what's next. I think that's the beauty of achieving things that you thought might be impossible is like once you've done that, it's like, well, crap, like I can do more. So now I've got to find out what that is. So
is that because you didn't feel like you were pushed to your limits? Like you had more in you? Is that's the cult, that inner voice that's like, I know I've got more in me? Yeah. Even though when I look at you, from the outside perspective, you look at the numbers, it's like, wow, like this is incredible. But like maybe inside you're like, I know there's a higher ceiling.
I've told a few people since I finished that I know 100% I could beat my own time by like a day because I learned so much during it. And so I know that there was more to give 100%. And I'm kind of like secretly hoping someone goes and beats my record. So next season I can come back. But yeah, it's weird because like in the moment, especially those last couple of days in the FKT, I felt like I had just given everything. But when I'm finished and I look back, I'm like, there were parts throughout that 14 days I was on trail where I could have pushed a bit harder. I took like an easier option for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm really interested in finding out my limit, and completing something successfully means I probably didn't find the limit, because if I found the limit, I probably would have failed, because that would be it.
It's a great point.
And so now I'm just like, what's next? What can I do next? And I've always been a man that has like a lot of ideas and like things that I'm like, oh, I could do this, this, and this. And I've gotten better at like actually making those ideas into reality. And so now I've like got all these ideas rolling around my head of what I can do next, and I'm going to do them. So like the next year is going to be a bit of fun.
Because I remember when I was rowing and we used to have these ergo tests, like let's say a 2 kilometer ergo test. It's really easy to convince yourself that you push yourself hard because you went hard for the last 250 meters. And like something that I have to constantly tell myself is like, it's the consistency across a long period of time. It's not just about the last 250 meters. It's about, obviously if you're setting up a plan for a race, it's about executing the plan effectively and maximizing each part of it. And I think it's really easy to convince ourselves that we're doing what needs to be done because we just focus on the last little bit of effort we put in, and then we don't realize that we didn't really work as hard, or we could have planned smarter.
Yep.
I think
so accurate. I mean, I'm just thinking back to my FKT, and I gave everything the last 2 days. I don't think there was much room for improvement, but it's the 12 days leading up to that final push that I'm like, there was room to do a bit more, I think. Yeah.
So how do you feel about like all these big achievements you've done? Like you look back at them And what's the overall, I guess, how would you put it into like the catalog of your own brain? How would you like compartmentalize those experiences and what they've done for you, and going forward, how they're going to be used to summon bigger tasks?
Yeah, whenever I'm doing something that's really hard, I am always referring back to hard things I've done in the past. And so, like, every time I put a runs on the board, it's like this little, little shelf in my brain that I can pick off a book and be like, oh crap, I've done that before. Like, it always happens. Like, even on the bib track when it was like day 3 of the FKT, and I was walking through. No, it was day 4. Walking through like really flooded trail, and then it started raining, and it rained half like 6 hours one day, and it was miserable. I was so cold. I was just thinking back to the countless times that I've been on trail in the middle of nowhere, and it was raining, and I was so cold, but I just kept pushing because there was no other option, and I made it to camp that night, or I made it to the town or whatever. I'm like, well, freaking, I've done it before a million times. Like, this is so crap, but like I've done it, so I'm just gonna do it again because I can. And so it's like, it's pretty nice to have that to draw on in tough times. But other than that, like, I feel like I move on from things pretty quickly. Like, even things that I'm really proud of, I don't dwell on too long. Like, I don't want to make that like my entire personality.
Yeah,
that
your
I
identity.
did this thing. It's like, I think I watched a reel yesterday. Maybe it was you who shared it. I don't know. From Jocko Willett, who's like saying like, this morning you're starting from zero. Every day you're starting from zero. And that's kind of like, oh no, it was my mate Cam, who's a freaking grinder, who shared that, Cam De Silva. It's like, yeah, once I've done a big trek, it's like, okay, and tomorrow it's like I didn't do it. I don't need to dwell on something great that I did. Tomorrow's day zero. Let's keep working hard, and let's think about what I can do next.
Because I just find it's like a paradox that it's the thing that takes up so much mental space and time. Like, you're thinking about how to train for it, how to prepare for it. It's this big thing you have in your life, and then it's done, and then it's just gone. It's like, is that because we focus so much on achieving something, but what we're really after is the growth from the journey, right? Like, you're looking back on those individual experiences, and you're being able to pull out parts of yourself that you've proven to yourself that you have the strength, you have the resilience to be able to push through these new challenges. But you're not looking back from, I guess, these moments from a place of like cockiness, or like, it's more the individual things that you build during them that stick with you, that are important. Because I find it weird that we focus so intently on something, right? And then as soon as we achieve it, we move on to the next thing. But it's like, a week ago, it was like it was just dominating our lives. But it's not gone now. Like, the things that we went through aren't gone, but they've transformed now.
Yeah, I think that's so true for me. It's like the journey and the obstacles I overcame throughout the experience are the things that I'll look back on, not like the fact that I just completed this thing overall. I don't know. I have a weird I don't know, lack of empathy or lack of nostalgia about things. I think my wife would agree with that. Like, I don't look back on things or dwell on things much, but I do draw on experiences that I've had. So I think what you've just outlined there is pretty true for me.
I find that you can get so much confidence from the individual experiences. Like, when things go wrong, like, and you know that you've gone through them, it's just super important to be able to draw from those. Like, it's not, when shit hits the fan, you aren't drawing on the successes. You're drawing on the times that went to shit and you got through them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, that's when it's most important. But when things go wrong in our lives, we're constantly over-identifying with them, putting ourselves into victim mode. But it's actually such an opportunity to build the confidence and strength for a future time, but it's so hard to realize. But like, when shit goes wrong on the trail for you, it's like, this is just an opportunity to develop.
So true.
But it's hard at the time. So do you have any, what would be some of the hardest times you have gone through? Like, what are some of the toughest experiences on trail, like, where you're thinking this couldn't possibly get any worse?
There's been a few that spring to mind. I remember when I was in the Himalayas, I was doing this 30-day trek and mountaineering expedition with a few mates, and there's this one mountain called Leboche East that we were going to summit. It's a 6,000 meter peak, and my friend Lachlan convinced me to climb this mountain alpine style, which means like not using the fixed lines that are up the mountain, which the Sherpas set for tourists like us to hook into and help us climb the mountain safely. It was like, well, now we're going to climb it alpine style. We're going to set our own lines. We're going to carry our own gear. We're not going to use porters for this specific climb. And that was, as someone who wasn't a super experienced mountaineer, it was like my first ever mountaineering peak. It was like, this is stupid, but it sounded cool. So we did it. We had a Sherpa with us who kind of helped us stay safe. But there was a couple parts of that climb where I was like, damn, I'm going to die today. This is cooked. This is completely cooked. There was this, like, the start of the climb from high camp was this rocky wall that was covered in ice that, like, you can get some pretty good grip on it with crampons. And so, like, if you're hooked into the fixed lines, it's like you feel pretty secure because you're just climbing. And if you fall, you're gonna be fine. But we we climbed that section without any rope, nothing attached to the mountain. And so if you fall, you fell and died. And I was like, holy crap, what the hell am I doing here?
So you're free soloing, like
this little section of rocky ice. Yeah, it was cool.
So what was if you dropped, how big was the fall?
It was like the top of that rock wall would have been like 20, 30 meters. And then there was like a snowy ledge. And then there was like another huge drop if you fell off that. It was like, you'll be in trouble if you fell at any point. And I remember just like doing it because it's like my Sherpa just went up and Lockie just went up. I was like, okay, we're doing this. I'm doing it. And then the rest of the climb up was on snow and it was a bit easier to feel secure, and we were setting line on the way up and stuff. And we got to the summit and like bad weather rolled in and it was like no visibility and completely cooked. And we had planned to traverse this ridge on top of the mountain to get to the Leboche East Peak, I think. Yeah, Leboche East Peak. We couldn't do it and it was like super sketchy, but yeah, just thinking of moments that were like, holy crap, that was one of them for sure.
Yeah, that sounds scary because I've watched this documentary with like Alex Honnold, like free solo, but anyone who does things without ropes and there's a drop,
it's so dumb. Alex Honnold is crazy.
Oh yeah, he's crazy, but that is just even that experience there is terrifying.
It was terrifying. And we climbed a second peak that trip called Island Peak, and Lockie went up again alpine style. And I was like, no, I'm doing it the normal way this time, mate. And unfortunately, Lockie didn't actually summit that second peak, and I was able to get to the top, and it was just so cool, regardless of the way I went up.
So if you slipped, like when you were doing that climb, you died basically.
I reckon I would have been in big trouble, yeah, and hopefully my wife doesn't listen to this because I probably didn't tell her that.
No more alpine stuff.
I've got it actually on YouTube. Like I've filmed it with the GoPro on my head, so it was like
really,
yeah.
That'd be sick footage. Is this the secret YouTube or this is the public?
No, this is the public one. Yeah. It was just like a very raw video of that climb, but crazy. But there's been heaps of other spots where I'm like either really technical trail that like if you fell you're in real trouble, or like the weather was really cooked that if I stopped here and didn't keep pushing, I'm going to be in real trouble and stuff like that. But I kind of love that about hiking is like often you don't have a choice. It's like if you want to survive, you have to keep pushing. And it's like you can't choose to just stop. It's like you've got to go. And it forces you to push really hard and go into really uncomfortable places. And that can be pretty sketchy, obviously. And because I've done this so much, I have like the confidence that I'm not going to die most of the time. But I love that hiking sometimes forces you to really push because you're in the middle of nowhere and there's no one coming to help you. It's like, to get out of this situation, I need to get to a good spot that I can set up my tent and get into my tent and get warm. It's like there's no other way around it. I've got to do that myself, and that's kind of cool.
Do you think we have a secret yearning for uncertainty? I know like a lot of the talk that you hear about is, you know, like as humans we hate uncertainty, right? We want to be safe and predictable, but I reckon there's a part of us that loves the uncertainty, right? Because not only does it make us grow, but like you got to think for millions of years, like our brains were designed to handle it. So not only can we handle it, but it was actually the staple of our everyday life. Like,
Yeah.
I think we've convinced ourselves that we're just meant to stay in one spot and, you know, air conditioner, everything's comfortable and predictable. And I think we've gotten overly comfortable in our society. I think we're designed to go through challenges to realize our potential. I mean, this is pretty obvious, but I just think we're so modernized now that we forget how, like, a lot of what you're doing, it was probably like, I don't want to undermine your performance, but like going outside was a common thing.
Yeah.
Like, people yearn for what you're doing because
Absolutely.
it's like, circle back to what we said, it's such a natural part of our existence to wander, explore,
Yeah.
develop. And I think as a world, as a society, we've got probably a lack of that.
100%. 100%. I always I always say that I'm trying to just avoid a static life. And a lot of that just involves, chasing uncertainty and exploring and doing things where you're not exactly sure what the outcome is going to be. And me and my wife have always disagreed. She hates change in life. She doesn't like moving houses or changing, like, she doesn't like change. And I've always just been the exact opposite, where I'm like, I want to spice things up. I want things to be different, whether I choose it or it just happens. And I think part of that is just because it's like a growth opportunity and you get to experience things that you never would if you just stayed on the same path always. And that's the beauty of spending time outside as well. Like, exploration is a key part to being outside, whether it's like exploring just like a local trail or going off the beaten path and walking into the forest that literally no one might have ever done before. And some of the people that I look up to in the world of sort of like outdoor content creation and adventure are people that do things that no one has ever done before. I love following people on just adventures that no one's done. Like, there's this guy, Alexander Campbell, an Aussie dude right now who's walking literally around the world. It's something like a 40 or 50,000 kilometer long journey. He's just like already walks through like 12 or 16 or 18 countries or something like that. And he's, I think, 2 or 3 years into the journey now, and he's probably got 3 years to go. It's like every day for him is experiencing something that no one else has done before, and nothing is guaranteed. And it's just like, looks like the most incredible experience ever. And he's like, you wouldn't see a happier person.
When you're in these trails and you're on these, like when you're on the Pacific Crest or any of these experiences you've gone through, are you able to find yourself being quite present and task oriented, or do you find your mind is like gets caught up in the finish line and like wanting it to be over, or do you find some love and peace and enjoyment through it, even though like you're obviously challenging your body as well?
Yeah, I always am very intentional about not thinking about the end, even of a really short adventure. Because if you think about the end a lot, it can stress you out and be like, holy crap, that's a long way away. Am I going to actually make it? But also it just takes you away from the present moment, which is something that I really try and be intentional about when I'm outside, is taking in every footstep and every moment and I spend a lot of time with the headphones in when I'm hiking, but I try to spend at least half of every day just listening to nature and then going through my own thoughts and stuff like that and being very present. And that's advice I give to anyone who's starting long distance hiking, is to just never think about the end. Because I think a big reason people quit early is they get overwhelmed with the task ahead. Whereas if you just break things down into like really bite-sized pieces, let's walk 5 kilometers to the next campsite, or let's walk 2 days to the next town and then reassess. It's not like, oh my gosh, there's like months until the end. It's like, oh my God, it's very easy to get overwhelmed and like bail early, especially on like these really long through hiking trails. So I'm always trying to stay like in the present moment.
I find that that's quite analogous to life, right? Like
Yeah.
Like I have a vision of my life, and I reckon if you showed me the journey to get there, it would almost be like, do I want to wander that? That's pretty scary.
Yeah.
But if you broke it down into the series of steps, I heard a quote that was talking about everything hard is just a series of steps that are easy.
Yeah.
And I think that that's quite true, because like if you break everything down into smaller pieces, it's one foot in front of the other. It's, one little maneuver that might be hard, but in isolation, just one move, it's not too difficult. You accumulate all these things. You can look at it, the entire frame from a panoramic perspective and be like, this is too much. But that is so important to be able to focus on the individual present moment. But how do you do that? Because it's so easy to understand why it would be important, but how do you stay focused and present when, you know, you have emotions, you have the physiological stresses in your body, thinking, when is this going to be over? I'm hungry. Do you have any practical strategies to actually center your mind and attention?
That's a good question. I feel like it just comes like second nature to me at this point. I'm trying to figure out the journey that I went on to get to the point where I could.
Did you struggle with it? Did you ever struggle with staying present and focused?
I think everyone does at the beginning of the journey, and like even just relating it to my journey in content creation and stuff like that. I used to for sure just like look ahead all the time to like, holy crap, like I want to get there. It's going to take a lot to get there, but breaking it down into like really small steps, and you can break stuff down into tiny steps if you really have to. Makes it a lot more manageable. And so I think just naturally, like I've transitioned to doing that. It's like becoming a full-time content creator. That's like an impossible task, but what does it take? Like, it just takes posting one reel today. That's like the small step that it takes. And that's really easy to do. Like I can just, put something together or like get some inspiration. And it's the same on trail. Like you said, like instead of thinking about 2,000 miles down the trail, I just have to think about literally one step right now. And I think that's just been repetition for me. It's just like practicing it, catching myself when I'm thinking too far ahead. And you probably know you're thinking too far ahead when you start getting anxious about the thing, or you start getting scared of the thing. It's like, okay, I'm thinking too big here. Let's try and break it down and think about what's something practical that I can do like in this exact moment to progress, even if it's 0.1% of the way to the end goal.
Yeah, I find what creates a bit of anxiety and pressure around like a pursuit is when you create these sort of unspoken contracts with yourself. Like, if I complete this, then my followers are going to blow up and I'm going to have the full-time job. The more we create these pressures around the pursuit rather than staying present, it's incredibly difficult to do, because you do the hard things, you make the videos, you make the content because you love what you do, but also you're trying to build this thing. But it's really hard to like compartmentalize, the pressures of trying to turn this thing into something tangible and real, creating money from it, and also the stresses of staying focused and present. Like, it's so easy to get that caught in your mind. But what I've been learning about recently within myself is the more I focus on the process and journey, like you tap more into this energetic state that is more of a higher vibrational state, more from a place of abundance and life and like a strong life force. Whereas there's almost this like hollow place of emptiness that comes from the, like, if I do this, then my account's going to blow up, rather than trusting that if I just do enough volume over a long enough period of time and I never give up, this thing will work out. If I'm willing to learn, adapt, and overcome anything that comes my way, then success is almost inevitable.
Yeah.
And having that in the back of your mind, because I've heard a few people say, you've said it, Mac has said it, they were like, I just knew I was going to keep doing it. Like, and I think when you have that in the back of your mind and you know you're not going to give up, then it's easier to focus on the journey, because you know that you're willing to do whatever it takes, no matter how hard, no matter how many pivots you've got to make. I think that that's an underspoken thing, because I think we keep negotiating with ourselves. And this is what I've done a lot. It's like, you're on the journey, you keep negotiating, like, do I do this? Do I do that? But Hormozi defined commitment as the elimination of alternatives. And I think the more you just commit yourself internally to something, it actually makes something easier, even if it might feel harder and you're putting more time and energy and there might not be a reward. Just knowing that this is the thing that I want to do and I love doing, for some reason it creates more clarity.
It just removes resistance, I think. Yeah. I think the only reason I'm successful as a full-time content creator is because I literally removed other options. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And from the point that I made that decision, they're literally just like, it was like part of my existence was there was not another option. So I'm just going to keep doing this basically. And I was lucky that I had a bit of savings and I had a bit of a runway. It wasn't that long. I was just like, if it's not working, I'm just going to work harder and try something new and be really intentional about learning every day. But I think, I think really a key is to remove a lot of the expectations that you have on yourself. And I think people have a lot of expectations they think that other people have of them as well. And it's like this weird spot of being really pressured by things that actually don't exist. Like no one's expecting you to post a super viral reel. No one's expecting you to be super, it's just you versus you. And if you remove those expectations for yourself and you really commit, I love that definition, by removing alternatives, then like you said, it's kind of an inevitability. Yeah. But I think you also got to be really honest with yourself. Like it needs to be something that you love and you love every aspect of, because it's like, yeah, it's hard to grind and commit in that definition without a real passion for it as well.
Yeah, I think you have to love what you do. But I think what happens is when you love what you do, discipline discipline is not even discipline, because you just love doing it. You just show up. Like discipline is like flexing a muscle of doing something you don't want to do. And, you know, people always say like, you know, this person had to put all this discipline in. But it's like a lot of the time when I talk to these people, like they did long hours. They loved it. Like sometimes there's tasks they didn't want to do. But they worked not a 9 to 5, they worked a 5 to 9.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They worked longer hours. And I think a lot of people don't realize that when you do go on this journey, that it takes up your time. You don't just leave the job. Like even for my podcast, like I think about this when I go to bed. I think about it as soon as I wake up. Like it's something that I'm constantly thinking about. And I think that's the difference from working a 9 to 5, which is like you enter, you leave, and it's almost like
switch off. Yeah.
It's a separate thing, whereas a lot of people don't realize as well, like there is other aspects to this journey. I think when you love what you do, it becomes easier as well.
Yeah, for sure. And that's been like almost a cheat code for me. Like I freaking love, obviously I love hiking. I also love making videos. I mean, I've been doing that since I was a teenager. I love every aspect of what I do. And so even though I work like ridiculous hours every day and every week, even even now, with all the new projects I've been taking on, it comes very naturally. It's like, I'm excited to wake up every day. And I think if you don't have that most of the time, it's very unsustainable.
Does faith tie in anywhere on your hiking experiences? Like, do you call upon any of that?
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. I believe God created the earth, which includes all these mountains and rivers and valleys. And when I'm out in nature, it's like, it's awe-inspiring, and I'm constantly being like amazed at creation. And that's very inspiring for me when I'm outside. And also just like being outside with no distractions, with no reception, with no people a lot of the time is like, for me, it's the best place to have relationship and conversation with God. And it's like, I don't know, I find that very hard when I'm in the city and when I'm at home, because there's like always something you can distract yourself with. You know, it's often hard enough to have conversations with people when you've got notifications and commitments and meetings and schedules and all that kind of stuff. But when I'm out there in nature and in creation with nothing man-made anywhere, it's like such a natural place to just like commune, and it's super powerful. And in the hard times, I call on God, and in the great times, I'm very thankful in my conversation. And it's just like, yeah, it's very empowering, and I feel like it gives me strength and a real peace. Like being in nature is just peaceful in general, but it's like this next level of peace, sort of like leaning into that. Yeah.
Because the people I've interviewed that believe in God and have that by their side, they have this like undercurrent of peace and trust in what's meant to unfold. It's interesting to see how that's tied in with your journey and how that's been able to support you as well. It's interesting.
Yeah, I feel like God's always called me to like impact the next generation of human beings, like younger people. And that's why I went into social work and youth work when I was 19, 20, 21. And getting into this career, I was like a bit confused at how that would all play out. But turns out there's a lot of young people on social media that I get to converse with and inspire every day. And it's like, holy crap, like this journey that I've been on that I feel called to is sort of all, in hindsight, all makes a lot of sense now. And so being able to have that impact with people and hopefully a positive impact has been really, really fulfilling.
What are you hoping to inspire people specifically around? What would, your ideal legacy be with your content?
Just to get more people outside. I think more and more people are spending more time inside in front of screens, especially young people these days. I mean, technology is advancing at a crazy rate, and 40 years ago, you couldn't really scroll reels or use the internet, and now that's like what people are doing at 6 years old. And so I really I really want to inspire people to get outside, basically. And for a lot of people, that could just be like going down to your local park or beach, on the weekend, which they might not usually do, or maybe it's going out on a multi-day hike and immersing yourself really far away from cities and nature. And I think the more people do that, the more people experience the real practical benefits that come with it. We have a mental health epidemic, we have an obesity epidemic in the Western world and Australia. I think that hiking in nature is like one of the biggest cures for both of those things. It's a place where you can be at peace and away from all the distractions of life that really mess with people's head. And it's just a really healthy thing to do, to move your body outside in fresh air. And the more people that do that, the more people will experience those benefits. And I think that can create societal change if society at large spends a large portion of their weeks and days outside. I think the more people that spend time outside as well, the more respect those people will have for the natural world and want to protect it. And so I think that even though getting people outside and a lot of people outside can be a bit of a weird dichotomy where like that can do more damage to our trails and our natural places, I think it also grows the respect people have for those places and motivates them to want to protect it and look after it as well. So, just want to get people outside, eh?
Yeah, I think it's such a good cure to all of the mental health struggles that we're having, because you get to connect with yourself, other people, sunlight, steps.
Going on a group hike in nature like ticks every box to avoid like a lot of mental health struggles, because you've got socialization, you've got a physical challenge, you've got fresh air, sunlight, which are just like keys to healthy living that a lot of people miss out on. Which is why like I love seeing like in Perth we've got such a cool culture of like community events that are like a lot of them based outside with run clubs and hiking groups and all that kind of stuff. And it's so awesome because people are just getting outside and experiencing those benefits.
Yeah, I think there's been a huge rise of community and exercise, because I think there's a yearning for it. Like we said before, like we have a calling to be outside and do stuff. That's why people love these places. So take me into the business that you got now, like it's OptiVenture, and I guess the thoughts behind that and how that's all going at the moment.
Yeah. So I started OptiVenture. Yesterday was our 2-year anniversary, actually. My mate Hirsch and I co-founded the company 2 years ago, and we just saw a gap in the market for hikers and sort of long multi-day outdoor adventurers, where there wasn't like a supplement option to supplement nutrition on trail. Anyone who's hiked long distances before knows how poor your diets can be on trail. And it's interesting because it's like one of the few endeavors that requires like proper nutrition to function properly. You're spending like a lot of time outside pushing hard for multiple days in a row. And there just literally wasn't a supplement built for outdoor adventurers. In fact, there's like wasn't even a brand dedicated to hikers in the nutrition space for, all your classics like your electrolytes and proteins. Like they're all built for runners or gym goers or CrossFitters or whatever it is, but there's nothing built for hikers, which is very, very specific demands. You're spending all day, multiple days in a row in the elements, and no other sports like that. So like, why isn't there a company that like services those people? And me and Hirsch were both big supplement users. We took it quite seriously, trying to like supplement our nutrition on trails. and on expeditions and stuff like that. And so we're like, why the hell doesn't this exist? And he's an entrepreneur and I'm a hiker. And so we're like, let's just join forces and make it. And so, yeah, we spent the last 2 years alongside Jess, who's our nutritionist, who lives in Melbourne, developing an all-in-one supplement built for hikers and outdoor adventurers. And, we're officially launched with our version 2 of the product, which is like a morning-night system, 3 capsules in the morning, 3 at night, sunrise, sunset.
I love that concept. That's my favorite. It's so cool.
It just makes sense. And we're really proud of it. It's like, I'm biased because I made the product, but it's like, it is a game changer. It's one of the best supplements on the market in general, as far as like quality of ingredients and comprehensiveness in like an all-in-one system. We've, tailored it specifically to the demands of outdoor adventure and long distance hiking, but it's like it beats out all the AG1s and the IM8s of the world.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's a premium product, but it is very, very good. And so I've been like sort of the test dummy, I guess, over the last couple of years on our different versions of the product. Used it along the Pacific Crest Trail. No injuries, no sickness, no gut issues, which is like the issues we're trying to solve. Used it on my FKT recently. It was incredible because I was just eating crap like every hiker does, and being able to supplement nutrition and all these little added extras that we get that we have in OptiVenture Core to manage inflammation and help you sleep better and give you sustained energy and keep you immune to all the different things that can hit you on trail. It's been really powerful. So it's pretty cool to be like alive to the world and have product for people to buy. Like I'm not an entrepreneur at all, so it's like this whole different world for me. And we've got like almost 300 customers from around the world now who have bought in and having great results on trails all over the globe, and just really excited about it. And like our goal with the company, like my goal with my content is to just get people outside and hopefully provide a solution that keeps people healthy and fit and injury free outside as well. And so seeing that happen in real time has been really cool. And like our community's growing. We've got our Facebook group and like people just like really participating and stuff like that. And got some cool plans for the next year as well. So yeah, it's super exciting.
No, awesome. I think you've got such a strong mission and I love it. And personally, I think we need more of it. So obviously the more the better. I think more people need to get outside, and I think your message is super, super inspiring, and the content you post is epic. And I mean,
we're going to go on a multi-day hike together.
Yeah, we're going to have to. That would
drag you onto the trails.
That would be super, super interesting.
Yeah.
I think I would get a lot of growth out of that, and I think it would be nice to unwind a bit. I'm just about to go into third gear. I've been in second, going to third, about to drop into fourth right now with my sort of journey. But no, I think it's super, super valuable just to find the time to get outside. Like it's not even a want. It's a need.
It shouldn't be like an option. I think it should just be like a default part of everyone's life, spending time outside. And I mean, we're lucky in Perth. We got the beach there, which is powerful as well. Like getting out and grounding yourself in the sand and like getting salty. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But like, obviously I'm biased towards the trails and really like climbing a bloody mountain and sweating a bit. It's just like so good.
Yeah. So what are the plans for the future? Have you got anything in store for, I guess, not only business growing, but personal high? I mean, you just got off a big mountain, as we said, but like you said, you always focus on the next thing. What's the thought process at the moment?
I've got about 6 billion adventures planned. I always do. I can't help myself, but yeah, I'll head to Tassie next week for a couple of weeks of hiking, which will be good. And then next year, I really enjoyed doing that FKT. I had so much fun, more than I thought. Not necessarily during, but like type 2 fun, where now I look back on it, was like, that was really cool. So there's another long trail in Australia called the Hasten Trail in South Australia. It's slightly longer than the Bib Track actually. So I'm thinking maybe next season I'll give that one a crack on the FKT. And I'm planning a big trip to the US from like early next year, like sort of March onwards for a few months. And so I've got some sort of long trails that I'll walk over there, and maybe try an FKT over in the US as well. It's another idea rolling around my head. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, plenty of time outside over the next few months and over the next year for sure. And yeah, just working on everything else while I'm in Perth. Got the podcast, got OptiVenture and everything. So keeping pretty busy.
Is the wife ever come on the trails with you?
For the first time this year, she came on a multi-day hike with me. So we went to Japan for a month in May, and I convinced her as part of that trip to come on a 5-day hike in the mountains, which she loved. I mean, she loves Japan more than anywhere else in the world, including Perth. You know, we lived there for a year, and we've gone back quite a few times. So she was quite happy to explore a bit of it via trail, and that was really cool. And because she loved that so much, when we went to Europe a couple of months later, so we went to Europe for summer, Northern Hemisphere summer, she hiked across Spain with me for 33 days. So we did a really long hike on the Camino de Santiago together, which was about 1,000 kilometers. And so that was her first taste of what I do. And the Camino de Santiago it's a pilgrimage rather than like a wilderness hike. So she got a shower and bed every night in hostels.
Sounds like me. I would need that.
Yeah, well, dude, you might love that trail. It's really a great historic, cultural, social experience rather than like a wilderness one. I loved it too. But now I think I've got her over the hump of walking a long way, and now I think next year we'll do like a wilderness hike together, because she's historically been pretty against the adventure side of things. Like, she hates being dirty, and she just wants a bed and a shower, basically.
Opposites attract, isn't that right?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And I've just been very lucky. She's been supportive of me going off doing these things alone. But I think next year we'll walk the Bibbulmun track together. So that'll be my third end to end. It'd be kind of nice to do it a bit more casually, and I think I've got her about 90% of the way there of saying yes. So that'll be good fun as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I was super interested to see, because like you said, she was not naturally as outdoorsy as you, but I don't think many people are as naturally outdoorsy as you.
That's true. It's kind of like a pretty extreme one side.
Do you find it's like you feel like more at home out on the trail than being
100%.
like in a house?
100%. I sleep much better outside. I feel more like myself when I'm hiking a long trail. It just feels more normal. Yeah.
Do you think that what percentage of time do you spend on a trail versus like at home there?
Last year I spent 55% of nights sleeping in a tent, so more than half.
Wow.
This year it won't be quite half. I think I'll have probably closer to 40% because I didn't do a really long through hike this year. But it's pretty close to 50-50 of time spent either traveling or on trail compared to just like at home. And that's a pretty good ratio for me, I think.
Yeah. Do you think you've adapted to sleeping outside, or have you always found it from the start like quite comfortable?
I've definitely adapted to it. I don't think anyone sleeps better outside at the start. It's just like it's just different. But once, like, a lot of people struggle with like, sounds at night or, uncomfortable mattress or whatever it is. But through experience and just like doing it a lot, it becomes like really natural to me. Like even on the FKT where I was getting very minimal sleep and I had a very uncomfortable sleep system because I was trying to go really lightweight, I still like felt really at home sleeping outside.
Yeah. That's crazy. No, that's well, thanks for coming on today. I thought, firstly, it's super inspiring to see what you're doing. I mean, just from a distance, it's like what all these adventures you go on are so epic, and I think it's inspiring, like seeing blokes like you and Macca pushing your body to the limits. Like, it gives the average punter like myself some inspiration to get outside more and
love that,
not make any excuses. So you'd be always surprised at the impact you're having. I mean, obviously you have a large following, but besides that, like, so many people's lives you'd be impacting just from your actions alone. So congrats on all the achievements so far, and I look forward to seeing where business and the next adventure looks like from Tasmania. But thanks for coming on. It was good to get an insight into more of the journey and more of you.
My pleasure, dude. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Really appreciate it.
No, thanks, Cam. Appreciate it. Thank you for listening to the episode. I hope you got a ton of value out of our guest today. Now, if you enjoyed that episode, don't forget to click the follow button on Spotify and also click the 3 dots and click rate show. Makes a massive difference in helping grow the show and bring on even bigger guests. And also, if you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It does make a massive difference. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.